How we doing, everyone? Welcome to another edition of FSI's the NASCAR DFS Pick Show. I'm your host, TK Nation 47, joined with Megarilla 31. Very uneventful night. We got going, we got started, and
we parked.
Right? And yeah, pretty much it. Red flag held us out as it was just lightning and rain all throughout the country. It seems like, PGA had its delays today. They didn't get their round finished. Baseball was a mess. NASCAR couldn't finish. So hopefully, the rain subsides. And, if you're in Louisiana, praying for you and the hurricane that is coming down on you soon. Hopefully you got evacuated and got out of there in time. And if you are watching this, that means you are safe, because clearly this would probably be the last thing you're probably doing. But if you are watching from the South or from anywhere, like this video, comment below, and give us your feedback and your favorite plays that you guys are on, and some of your questions. It's all welcome. All right, we have the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Mega, is this much of the same 160 laps? Is place differential going to be what we're targeting here?
Yeah, but this is a whole different ball game than Xfinity, because the quality of the equipment here is much better. Where I took some shots at some of the higher drivers in Xfinity because I thought that over place differential, I thought there were some really solid plays a little bit higher here, but I think a lot of people probably looking at the numbers stacked the back. I think people are gonna, stack like mix and match like any of the combinations of 30 through 40 here, maybe even 25 through 40. I think that's going to be the majority of lineups. So let's see what we can do to try to help people differentiate. As we said at the end of the Xfinity video, this is high variant sport, and this is an even high variant track. So play some lines. Don't manage your bankroll on this. This is like a scratch off lottery ticket. I mean, yes, you could win really, really big, but you could lose a lot. We want to see you next week. We don't want you to discourage and, bankrupt yourself out of DFS. So play a little bit, put some money on it, enjoy the race, but just know that so much can happen here. It's such a crazy thing where somebody that's starting 40th can get up to like in the top 10 within like a lap or two, because it's at times it's so easy to pass. Now they did change the horsepower on this. I think they went from 550 to 450. I don't know the exact numbers, but the bottom line is that they took away some horsepower. And they played around with these cars. They're still doing about 190, they think, on the track with these adjustments. But what they're trying to make it do is that they can't all like jam up and bump draft and all these things, which lead to big wrecks like what's behind me here. And they're trying to make it safer. And sometimes in making it safer, it doesn't make the product as enjoyable. It makes it more predictable. But we'll see. So hopefully they got the perfect balance of what they could do to tone the cars down, so they're not going like 215 miles per hour, which is very, very this is a track where you're like wide open almost the whole time. You can go through the corners wide open. Like, I don't even know if they need to put brakes on these cars except for at the end of the race or to get pit road. But other than that, like let's hope they got the balance of being able to make the cars fast but make the cars safe.
Yeah, super speedways, they can get quick in a hurry. I'm curious to see, with everybody knowing what's at stake here with the playoffs coming up, and with how quickly your day can end in a big crash. I'm wondering with the low downforce, I think it's that high downforce, low horsepower package, but you have restrictor plates, so that, it just seems so odd to think that's how they're constructing, a race car. I wonder if we're going to get single file racing, and
next year they'll just go 3 wheels.
Yeah, you know what I mean though. If they go 3, I know they'll go 3 wide to start, but if this race gets going and it's just that one lane, that one groove for a while, and we don't get the big one, is that part of maybe taking a shot in strategy in maybe a few lineups?
Yeah, I think if there have been races where they've tweaked things at Daytona where you couldn't pass, and pretty much the cars that started up front, you'd have to figure out like pit strategy or something. If there wasn't a big wreck, then everybody stacked the back strategy just didn't work out.
Yeah.
You maybe one or two guys got some place differential, but you were actually going more on like finishing position. Or if you got a manufacturer, there's been times, again, these guys have not had practice, there was no qualifying, and sometimes a different like manufacturing group can get together, and like all the Toyotas like worked really well, but then the Fords and the Chevys don't bump draft or draft well together, and they just keep on falling behind, and the pack breaks away and they can never catch them. And we've seen that happen before too. Sometimes with teams getting together, all the Hendricks cars get together, all the Gibbs cars get together, all the I don't know if the Penske cars would even work together at this point, because Brad Keselowski seems like the black sheep. They seem like they pulled all the resources away from him, and there's like, you can still play, but we're taking all the good bats and balls, and you can have what's left.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good way of putting it. It looks like it's every man for themselves over at Team Penske, but I can see some of the Hendrick cars getting together here. 3 of them in the top 5 starting out. I see that teammate strategy happen and work often, where you get a lot of those guys kind of single file and control the race. I think I'm going to have a little bit of mixture of all of it. You know what I mean?
One thing before we start the breakdown is Xfinity cars are different than Cup cars. But I was listening to the race on the way home from work tonight, and they were interviewing Justin Haley, who's a Cully racer, and Allmendinger was leading the race and pretty much out in front. And they're trying, I don't know if it was just early and they're just trying to feel things out, but like he led most of the early part of the race, and they were talking about how it was almost impossible. All the Cully cars wanted to get together and kind of run together, but they just physically couldn't do it because Justin couldn't make up enough ground to get to him. And AJ said he was trying to control the runs around him to help his teammates to get up to him, but that wasn't working either. Now, again, this is early in the race. These are Xfinity cars. It's a different package. It's a different car. It's a different setup. But, is that something that we're going to see tomorrow? So.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what to expect. With that being said,
and finally, it's a night race too, which means that there's going to be more grip on the track. It's not going to be a hot, slick track like it is when you run the Daytona 500. Well, I mean, February's really not that warm, but like if it was a day race.
Still Florida, day race in Florida. So we're going to get some cooler temps. These guys are going to have a little bit more grip. That could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing, though. Guys aren't slipping out of the corners. I think maybe I think I'm going to have a little bit, like if I did a 20 entry max kind of strategy. I think if I were to do it, I would do 12 lineups with the normal stack the back, and then here or there some guys that I like, even where it doesn't matter where they're starting, that I like on plate races. And then the other 5 or 6 I would have maybe the single file guys that are starting inside the top 15 that are super cheap, even though people won't play them. I'll just play them for low ownership. I'll take some of those shots in a few lineups in a 20 entry mix, just in case this thing goes single file and we don't get the big one. I mean, I know you're going to get wrecks, and typically they come late into the race, but what if this finishes on a green flag run and we never get a big wreck? I've seen it happen. I remember being so upset about it because you do all this work to stack the back and you get all this prepared lineups, and then a big one doesn't happen. So I like to hedge myself in that, and I think that's a fair strategy for all you listeners to go with if you're making multiple lineups. All right, now let's get into the picks. Kyle Larson on the pole, Hendrick.
I think what we can do here is just make it really simple. Let me just blow through these, because the top 10, unless you're playing FanDuel, which is a different strategy because you want to try to pick the winner on FanDuel. On DraftKings, most of these guys are going to be fade. Larson, if you think he's going to win on FanDuel, that's fine. But like starting at the pole, even he and Byron, even if they win this race, they're probably not going to be in the optimal lineup. Unless they're able to get out there and dominate. Hamlin, I think maybe a GPP play here, just because he has been very good on these this type of track and this type of racing. So out of all the top 8, so we're talking Kyle Larson, Bowman, or Byron, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex Jr., and Kurt Busch. I think they're all fades at this pricing, starting this far up. The only one I would consider in GPAP is Hamlin because I think he has the biggest win upside here.
Yeah. I would contest with a little bit of maybe Chase Elliott starting 5th, 8,500. I mean, if he wins the race, he might creep into an optimal lineup with other good place differential plays, being that cheap of a price tag. And he has some, plate race pedigree to his name. But nobody probably in this top 5 like Denny when it comes to track history. That for a while there, we thought Denny would never lose at Daytona. So I totally get that play. That makes a ton of sense. And like we were talking, nobody dominates plate races. So Larson and Byron probably aren't going to lead, 80 laps in this race. That's just not how it works. Pit strategy is even different. Tires aren't a big thing here. You don't have to have new tires to be able to pass. You can pass it whenever you want, even if you're on scuffs. So, it's just not likely that you lead more than 45% of the laps in a race, dominate it, and win. So I totally agree. I never play the pole sitter on a plate race. Probably not going to play William Byron either. I was looking at some of his stuff. It's top 3 or crash for William Byron. And that's probably going to be, most of this. But yeah, the guys that are starting inside the top 8, I would have to agree, probably fades, except for Hamlin, maybe a little bit of Chase. Next up, we have Matt DiBenedetto starting 9th, 6,700. Wood Brothers famously won the Daytona 500 with Trevor Bayne. So they have a lot of pedigree with plate racing in their manufacturer. Fords typically do well on plate races. I do like Matty D 6,700 as a GBP play.
Yeah, and I think it's the pricing and where he starts here. It's definitely a tournament play because, there's no floor here. He could fall back. He could lose you points, but he's right on the cusp of making the playoffs. He is very upset about the situation and really wants to try to prove himself for next year that, the knock on him is he just can't win. So instead of, maybe ending up in Xfinity next year, he wants to stay up in Cup. I think if he can get a win here and get into the playoffs, it's going to lead to a big thing for his future.
Yeah, that's exactly, I'm into that narrative. I will play along for that ride as well. And I think 6,700 gives you some flexibility to take a shot. I wouldn't consider him for cash lineups, but GBP, absolutely. Next up, we have Brad Keselowski, 10K. I've seen Brad. Oh, go ahead.
Is he 10K? Because DK assumed that, like, with him wrecking so early in last race at Michigan, that he'd be like way down, because this seems like a huge mispricing error.
Yeah,
he's good at these tracks, but like starting 10th, there is very limited floor here. Like at 10K, I don't know how, unless you're stacking a Penske, how you would ever play him for that much.
Yeah, this is looking like Keselowski fade for me. 10K is a lot for a guy that's only going to get a possible 9 place differential points. Even if he does win, we know he's not going to lead laps. So what are we looking at here? A total of what, 49 at most?
I think maybe 30 is his ceiling.
Yeah, so his points just don't add up, and at 10K. I could see him not being in the optimal, even if he does win late in the race. I mean, granted, if you get a ton of crashes, anyone that's left on the track is part of a winning strategy. So I could see if you played a little bit of Keselowski thinking he could be the one that could finish the race. But, newsflash, Brad Keselowski hasn't finished many races nor finished them well this year. So I don't think there should be any kind of heavy thought into this. I'm going to have to probably pass because I just see danger written all over Brad Keselowski's name this year, and Michigan proved that to be the case.
And I guarantee you that if Austin Dillon does not make playoffs, that next week he's going to turn Brad into a wall.
Yeah, it could even happen here too.
Well, I don't think he can do it here unless he's got damage on his car and knows that he's not going to be able to make it. But Austin is going to do everything possible because he's still got a shot at the playoffs. But once that door is closed to him, and pretty much Brad Keselowski is the one that took him out because he was having an amazing day, and so were we DFS until this happened.
Don't even want to know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll ask let's see here, David Starr, if I can hop in his ride tomorrow, and I'll take out Brad for him.
Oh boy. All right, yeah. Moving on to Kevin Harvick here, starting 11th, 9,800. Here's another price tag that
it's the same thing. I think they assumed that he'd be further on back than he is, and that he would be like a place differential play, and that's why they wanted to guard against it being like mega chalk. But I think the pricing's just wrong here.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick, he's got some plate racing pedigree in his life.
When you race for 40 years, you're always going to have some good.
They're quiet. They're quiet out of the 4 camp. But it shocked me they won. Kinda, actually. I kind of would be shocked if they came away a victor tomorrow. So for that reason, I'm probably out on Kevin Harvick as well. I don't.
And he's got a 104-point lead. I don't think he mathematically could blow that to Dillon or Reddick. So I think he's safely in there. So I think this is going to be a very conservative race. If he's got a shot to win, of course he's going to take it. But I think it's just like advance the next week and it's a whole new season and let's go from there. They might even be trying for like stage points and stuff just because they don't have the win. And they're probably going to start the playoffs like in 12th, 11th or 12th position, maybe even 10th, to try to get some of those bonus points. So if they don't win a race, they might be able to advance into the next round when the first 3 are cut off.
Yeah. So I can see Kevin Harvick. Right. Yeah. So I can see Kevin Harvick just taking it easy and just trying to, maybe finish inside the top 20 here, not try to blow away what he already has. So next up, we have Ricky Stenhouse Jr., really good plate racing driver. 6K is really cheap. So at some point, once we get back here into the teens and 20s, I don't care where a guy's starting. If I like his price tag and I know he can drive on plate races, I'll go for it. I think Stenhouse is a guy that I would risk going for it, and in GPPs, not cash.
The only problem is that he's been better at Talladega than Daytona.
True.
So
Talladega is his track. Yeah.
I mean, if he was starting 20 in the 20s, I would love him. I don't know. I've seen him like the first or second guy out in Daytona in the last couple of races. So and sometimes it wasn't his fault, but often it is. I mean, he's been better this year, but GPP, yes, but I just don't think he's a priority.
Cool. Moving on to Chris Buescher, starting 13th, 5,200. Really cheap price tag for Buescher.
Tempting, but starting way too high. I just don't think he's got the upside to stay there. I liked him at like Homestead and the 1.5 mile tracks, but I don't know on Super Speedway if he's the one to be able to keep up.
Yeah. I don't think he's finished many plate races lately. He seems to be always in the wrong place at the wrong time. And half the battle is being a car that can keep itself clean. He hasn't done so. So I'm probably out on him, even at his super low price tag. Next up, we have Christopher Bell. I think you can see some ownership here, 8,300. What are your thoughts?
I like him. My only concern is that he's in the Xfinity race. So he's going to be running a lot of laps here. And it's not like he needs to run the laps to get to know the track or anything. It's not a road course or anything or a unique course or anything like that. It's a circle. Pretty simple. So the only fear is, what if there's a major wreck in Xfinity and he's like in concussion protocol? Is he going to be cleared to go into this race? So make sure that you don't set it and forget it. Make sure that you're around before lock to make sure that there's not any like last minute switches or anything like that, because you might see, these are Gibbs cars. You might see a Gibbs guy from Xfinity end up here if Bell can't go.
I would say that'd be the only thing to hold him back from me to be a GPP play. Next up, we have Alex Bowman starting 15th. He is 9,600. I could see people believing in this play even in cash lineups. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like him. I don't think he is the epitome of a cash play, but I think there is some place differential upside here. There's some win equity. He could definitely win this race. I think he could get up and lead some laps in this race. So I would feel okay playing him a cash. Price tag's a little hefty, but one thing, and we should have probably said this earlier in the video, so hopefully everybody's watching still at this point, is that pricing really doesn't matter in this race, because some people are going to have lineups with like $15,000 or $20,000 left on the table if they're just stacking people in the back. So don't worry about pricing as much. Don't try to use, if we talk about him being a good play and possibly a cash play, and you have 9,600 left and you're like, oh wow, I want to put him in, but maybe the better play is to play like Koster at 6,800, just with more place differential upside. So don't feel that just because you have 96, you have to play them. Play the 6 guys that you feel the best about in this race.
Absolutely. I would definitely pound the table with you on that. Leaving salary is a big part of separating yourself in plate racing DFS. Next up, and I just wanted to quickly say, in on Bowman. Next up, we have Chase Briscoe, 5,300, starting 16th. Is this where Denny gets his revenge for the road course earlier?
No,
I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah,
I want it to be.
Yeah. It's got to happen at some point though, because he's a rookie and he's got to be put in his place. But again, same situation as Bell. He hopped into the Xfinity. And he's in the BJ Mcleod car, which I don't know if it's going to make it through the whole race. Like, we'll hope. But we think it like has some Stuart Haas stuff. We were talking about like how it's BJ Mcleod car, but it's actually like a Stuart Haas car that they just painted with the BJ Mcleod theme on it.
Stuart McLeod.
Yeah, Stuart McLeod. But anyways, it's the same fear as we have with Bell. If there's a major crash or something, he goes in concussion protocol or something, just have to make sure he's actually going to race in this. But also fatigue. I mean, there's a lot of laps, and if it's hot and humid there, this is a long day. Now, these are young guys. They're pretty good athletes. I mean, they're not
Miles Garrett.
No, I'm thinking of like Kenny Schrader, but I don't think it was that. Who was like the John Daly of NASCAR? Like he was like really big dude, and just like you just
Brendan Gaughan.
Yeah, he's not the guy I'm thinking of, but anyways, I'll put it in the comments below if I do think of it. But it's just like, you just like the guy got out of the car and you just like they had like the AAV there because he's like covered, drenched with sweat, and Jimmy Spencer.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
the old blue and yellow car he had. I can't remember what sponsor, but I remember Jimmy Spencer. Anyway,
okay, so Chase Briscoe.
Where are we going? Chase Briscoe. I don't know. Price tag's nice.
Yeah,
16. I could see it. Something's telling me that somebody's gonna get into this kid, or he's gonna get into someone.
Right, but Fords are good here if he hooks up with other Fords, not Ricky Stenhouse, but
that's probably who's going to wreck each other.
Well, I mean, Almirola, if like he hooks up with his teammates, Kevin Harvick, I mean, I don't think they're going to win this, but I think he has some upside at 53. I feel okay with him in cash. Again, not the epitome of a cash play, but I think at the pricing, there's some place differential. It's not a bad play. Okay, Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, Tyler Reddick. He's really aggressive driver. He's pretty good on. I mean, I wouldn't say pretty good on play races. I like him more for like a Darlington. Maybe next week. Maybe I want Reddick to crash out early, get a good place differential position for Darlington. I don't know. Thoughts on Reddick at 73?
He's playing defense.
Yeah.
He is currently on the bubble. So
he's got to finish the race.
He has to watch what Austin Dillon is doing and make sure that he stays ahead of him. So I really can't play a guy in DFS who is playing defense.
Yeah.
He's not playing to win the game. He's playing to, hold his position and advance to the playoffs.
Now, I could see that being a winning strategy for DFS in ways like if this does get out of hand and there are wrecks every single, 10 laps, and he's just sitting in the back of the pack, but he ends up finishing the race after 4 or 5 big ones. I mean,
very true. And he might stay out for like stage points and stuff. But
he's going to be racing for stage points, though,
right?
And that could be dangerous. So there's both ways to look at this. It's going to be tough. I could see that being risky, and I could see that being having some reward. So, but 7,300 is pretty expensive to find out for a guy starting inside the top 20 in a plate race. We'll leave it at that. Michael Mcdowell, winner of the Daytona 500, 5,700. I could see this being an extreme trap play.
Yeah, he's starting a little too far up. The pricing's good. He's been decent at these tracks, lots of experience. So I'm okay at 5,700. I feel a little bit better than him than like Briscoe or like Koster in that range. So again, if it fits in your build, I like it.
If I'm thinking though, in GPPs, this guy's going to have ownership because of the price tag. I could see the pivot off of Mcdowell, maybe going lesser ownership to maybe a guy, if he's over 40% ownership because of his price tag and starting position, and then, the Daytona 500 win, I could see myself trying to take a different approach and go with the shorter side of the ownership in the big multiple entries. Now, if he's going to come away with this low owned, then I might go the complete other direction, and I might load up with Mike McDowell and say, hey, I don't think Anthony Alfredo starting 32nd at nearly the same price is going to have just as much upside as McDowell, who has proven to be inside the top 5 in multiple plate races. So I just want to see where the ownership shakes out here with McDowell.
Every time I hear his name, I think he's the lead singer of the Doobie Brothers. Did you ever watch the 40-year-old version and they like played Michael McDonald like everywhere in that Best Buy? Yeah.
Yeah. Very good stuff.
Not in love anymore. Anyways, Eric
Very
Almirola.
good, Mega. Eric Almirola, Stuart Haas Racing, starting 19th, the 10 car. Pretty expensive to figure out.
He's good at plate racing, but more Talladega. And maybe it's a team thing, but he's the same as Stenhouse. He's had more success, I believe, at Talladega than at Daytona.
Yeah, he did have the famous second place to Denny, I believe, in the Daytona 500, where he lost the lead on the last lap. I mean, there's some history here for Almirola. He did get it going a little bit. I believe Charlotte is where he started his little mini season turnaround. He having won another race since. I don't mind Almirola at 9,300. Like, hey, the price doesn't matter. But if I think Almirola, if I'm going with a couple of Stuart Haas guys, maybe I could understand it. If I land on him and if I land on, I would rather play Bowman. I think we would both agree there that Bowman over Almirola. I think Hendrick stronger here when it comes to speed, although everyone's pretty much running the same speed. GPP.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Bubba Wallace and Eric Jones with two guys, 6,500, 63. Starting 20th and 21st. I don't know if I'm going to bring myself to playing someone from Richard Petty anymore. Bubba Wallace, I could understand. If he's good on any track, it's plate racing. So I will play Bubba tomorrow.
Did you see the news today about his team?
I did not. They're going with Kurt Busch in 54
45
next year. 45. Okay.
Yep, 45. The old Kyle Petty, Adam Petty car. Yep. Monster Energy sponsor.
Are they gonna go back to okay? Are they gonna give a little mellow yellow throwback at Darlington come next year?
I don't know, maybe. maybe.
All right.
I saw the car
Well,
looks pretty cool. I just don't like the numbers like aren't like square on the door anymore. It's like up more on the fender, but anyways,
yeah,
whatever. I'm sure we'll
we're
get
slow.
used to it. I'm sure like 10 years from now, if they put it back where they are now, we'll look at it like, wow, that looks weird. But anyways,
Yeah,
moving on. Sorry.
we're getting real close to becoming the the wing midget cars of the dirt racing. Whatever, it doesn't matter to me either. Sponsors, numbers, doesn't it's all about the results for me. Yeah, Bubba Wallace, I am in. Maybe there's some more team pressure to win, bringing in a guy like Kurt Busch.
He's not
Eric
yeah, he's
Jones,
not bad on these tracks.
no, starting 20th, there's some place differential there to be had. Eric Jones, I don't know. I'd rather play Bubba and Cole Koster. What are your thoughts on Eric Jones?
Well, he won here, but it was in the Gibbs car. So I
Yeah,
just this
he's not winning here with Richard Petty.
yeah, I don't even think Richard Petty in this car could win, unless they bring back like the '69 Duster or whatever. But
That Plymouth.
and it's sad. I just wish this team like could turn it around, because it's such an iconic team. It's almost like when like the Lakers or the Knicks or the Celtics or Yankees, Red Sox or Dallas Cowboys are bad and have a losing season. It year after year, like you just want them to return to what they were.
Yeah, I think they're more or less heading for bankruptcy and someone to buy them out, kind of like Chip Ganassi. So I think their times are running thin. I could see Colleague purchasing this and becoming something. Maybe this is going to be Junior Motorsports' one cup car here soon.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know. Eric Jones is not a terrible play. I probably won't do it. Moving on to Joey Logano, the probable chalk of the day.
Yeah.
Joey, really good on plate races. We've got a 22nd starting position. Salary, because you can fit it anywhere you want. This is probably where a lot of lineups start.
Yeah, I think the stars all align on this one. Very, very, very good in this package at these races. As you can see here, he's behind everybody, and see the wreck is happening and he's just hitting his brakes and they're all going to crash and he's going to drive right by him. But no, he's decent. I think he'll hook up with Blaney, maybe some of the other Fords, maybe D Benedetto. I don't know if they'll work with Keselowski. He actually has Keselowski's spotter, I think, now. Who I think was the better spotter on the team. Like it seems like a lot of the assets that Keselowski had that were like better than Logano, I think they kind of merged into his team to kind of create like a super team here. Because I think out of all of them, Blaney's good, but I think Logano has the best shot at a title.
Yeah. I'm with you. The planets align here. This is going to be probably where I start cash builds. Joey Logano. Going to be in probably 60% of the lineups. And if he wrecks early, then say goodbye to the day and move on. But that's why we're doing bankroll management. Next up, we have Ryan Newman. Infamous crash. He lands, 60,000 feet in the air, lands on his hood. Then Austin Dillon tags him in the door. We know the story with Ryan Newman at Daytona. But he's a great plate racer. He's going to be sitting in the back the whole time. If I'm playing lineups, and I'll finish up quickly. If I'm playing lineups where I'm doing the single line and it's not a wreck fest, I won't have any Ryan Newman in that strategy. If this is a race where I think there's going to be a ton of wrecks, then I'm going to have Ryan Newman in this strategy because he's a guy that's going to make it to the end. He's not going to take any danger, and he's just going to sit back and wait for everybody to make their mistakes, finish, inside the top 15, have a crack at it if he does, and then move on with his day. Your thoughts?
I'm the opposite of you. I'm out on him. He's actually wrecked the last 3 Daytona races. He's tried that strategy and he's got caught up in some bad situations. And I wouldn't say he necessarily has the yips. We haven't seen, but it's got to be in the back of his head every time he comes to this track. I know this is the 4th race he's run, or 3rd race since then. So
3rd. Yeah.
But I just not interested in the team just doesn't have speed. That doesn't matter as much here, but he's kind of no man's land in pricing too. He's a little bit higher than the value plays, and he's a little bit lower than some of the other plays. I can see your point, but he just doesn't do it for me.
I think I'd rather play him than Eric Jones, but I think I'm more invested emotionally into Cole Koster. And
yeah, I was gonna say if I have $7,000 left, I'm just gonna drop the 200 and go Cole Koster.
Cole Koster or Benedetto, but I would still put Newman into that rotation just a little bit because I play 150 in the mini max. You know what I mean?
Bubba or Newman.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I have guys ahead of him on the list, but he still makes the list over someone like Eric Jones,
right,
and Tyler Reddick. So that's just kind of where I see it. Next up, we have Ryan Preece, Jtg Doherty Racing. 7,700 is really expensive for a guy that either could finish 30th or 15th.
He's had 4 top 10s.
Really?
Yeah.
Sell me away.
I can't really sell it to you because there's other similar drivers that have luck box top 10s too, so it doesn't necessarily mean strategy, but there've been times where Ryan Preece is just somehow ends up in the optimal lineup. It's just like oh wow, Ryan Preece, okay. I don't think it's any I don't think it's skill. I think whatever he does during races, it works. And he's not a super aggressive driver. He's pretty good at keeping space and keeping out of trouble and keeping the car clean and stuff. He does get caught up on things. So again, I think you're right with like the 7,700. I do have him marked as cash right now, but I think it's very borderline. So I think you can get 30 DK points, which won't be at that. It won't get us the 4X we're looking for. So I'm changing him to a GPP right now. So
yeah, he's going to need top 10, and I just don't see it unless there's a lot of wrecks, and usually there are. So, but maybe he does. I don't know if I'm going to pay for it. Next up, we have Cole Koster, probably one of my favorite value plays on the slate.
Yes, definitely. Really, really like him. I think he's a good play.
Yeah, he's going to probably be one of my cash plays, and probably going to be a guy, even if I have the salary to leave on the table, that I am going to drop to Cole Koster.
He's right on the cut line because most of the people are stacking 25 through 40, and he's right at 25th.
Yeah, he's going to be, wreck aside, he can be a guy that scores high. Next up, we have Daniel Suarez, 7,800 GPP play, I think is the perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Like if you put him up against Preece, I think I would rather have Suarez, although he has had some more tech problems than Preece this year.
Yeah.
Breaking down, but I think it's just a young new team that's trying to figure out what they're doing. Although he has had some struggles here. He has finished in the top 15 a couple times, but there had been times, I think I looked up his average running position and it was like 33rd maybe. So that's a little bit concerning.
He had some years with Gaunt brothers, so it is a little inflated. But honestly, Preece and Suarez, I'm not super in love with their price tag.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could see them in rotation of the mini max, but Bubba Wallace, Cole Koster,
I think the whole 7K range you can just kind of cross off. You have Kurt Busch there, you have Tyler Reddick, you have Ryan Preece, you have Daniel Suarez. So
it is no man's land. There is a guy we can talk about later that will probably be the play that we'll probably pivot to. Next up, though, we have Austin Dillon starting 27th, 10-3. Guy needs to win. Guy needs to make the playoffs. He's going to be aggressive. That could be a big pain in our butt come into the race when he's making moves he shouldn't. But you have to do this. You have to play Austin Dillon tomorrow.
I'm not. My
gosh.
He's gonna have high ownership, but I think he's going to be chasing stage points, and I don't think he's going to be set up to win this race. And if he gets to a point, if Tyler Reddick racks, he's going to be conservative just to kind of finish the race, just to make sure that he gets into the playoffs.
Man, I think
And
Austin Dillon
the other thing, like this could get
gonna
really
try to win it.
well. Yeah, well, the only way he'd try to win it is if there's somebody up front that he thought could win the race, like Benedetto, that would get in. But if there's a big wreck and everybody else that potentially could win and get in the playoffs is eliminated, then I think he just tries to finish the race.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
10,
that's
10 3,
certainly
I know we're not worrying about money here, but 10-3, I just not interested.
like, don't get me wrong, I think Logano is a stronger play, but
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not scoffing at the idea of playing Austin Dillon. You know, he's won the Daytona 500 before. I mean, he could do plate races. He's I don't know. He's kind of heating up too. I think
If the playoff were off the table, I would 100% play him in cash here. I'd lock him in. He'd be the second guy in my lineup. But the whole bubble playoff thing, it scares me off.
all right. Well, I'm sticking on. That's all right though. You know, two different opinions. Let you guys choose. Next up, we have Justin Haley, 5,500. I could see this being a chalk play tomorrow.
Yeah, Collie is definitely starting to give parts and tech and stuff to the Spire thing. He is price nice. His car is better than like some of the other ones down here, like Quinn Huff, Blicky, Gase, David Starr. So I think he's got maybe 7x potential here. You know, he could have a really good day at his price.
When you think about playing Briscoe and Busher, just play Haley.
Mm-hmm.
That's
100%.
That's what I'm gonna do. If I'm making lineups and I'm looking at those three guys, I'm just gonna click on Justin Haley's name and move on. Next up, we have Ross Chastain, 8,200. Chalk play tomorrow?
I think so. I have marked as cash right now, but he is very aggressive, which could be great or it could be detrimental. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in on Ross Chastain. 8,200, not a terrible price tag. Like we know, I've been saying we don't. I mean, if I'm playing anyone in the 8K range, based on what I've seen so far, it's going to be Ross Chastain. Maybe one more guy we'll talk about later, but yeah, well, Ross in
the thing that I think is really going to help him is that he's such an aggressive driver, and people don't like being aggressive because they realize it's like a long game. So like in the beginning of the race, they'll be jockeying for position, trying to figure their cars out. If he wants to go out and lead the thing, I think they're going to let him, which means he will get some fast laps and he will get, you know, some laps led. I think it'll be later on in the race that, you know, if he can finish the race is going to be the key. But I think there's a lot of points upside there.
Yeah. He's going to score well, I believe. Next up, we have BJ Mcleod and Cody Ware starting 30th and 31st. These guys are going to turn in laps. Are they going to finish?
Ware, yes. BJ Mcleod, I'm not sure. BJ Mcleod and his team, usually in Xfinity, like stay all the way in the back. So, you know, there is some safety in that, but tech-wise, could this car break down and not make it the 400 miles? There's a real possibility of that too. So GPP for Mcleod, I think I'm okay with in cash.
I'm out on Mcleod. I think 30th is still too far ahead because there's the real possibility he can be finishing 27th even with a ton of crashes. You know what I mean? He could still be 27th down, you know, 30 laps. So 4,500, cool. I get the price tag, but I don't need to play someone at $4,500.
Right.
I don't have to. So I probably won't. Cody Ware, I understand, the 51 car. Relatively decent, I guess you would say. Next up, we have Anthony Alfredo, 5,800. I
think he's going to be popular here. Just because,
I'm going to temper my expectations, though. I'm just going to play him in GPPs.
Well, remember, we thought this is the steal of the Daytona 500, and he got caught up in that early wreck. It wasn't his fault. And he was one of the ones where the rain delay, he's sitting on pit road and we're like, please be able to continue. Please be able to continue. And he couldn't. but yeah, rough start to the year. He's been average now. He was good in Xfinity in a few races, but this guy really doesn't have that much experience.
Right.
Yeah, Talladega, I think he finished in the top 15. So I think, that shows some upside there. 58 is not a bad price. And I think his car is more sound than some of the other clunkers down here. So,
Yeah, I don't mind Alfredo for GPPs. Next up, we have Corey LaJoy, 7,400.
I think he's
in the 7 car. Yeah, lock him in. Starting 33rd. Absolutely.
5, maybe even 6x value here. Could maybe get 30, 40 DK points. Definitely think he's got a lot of upside here.
Play him over Reddick, play him over Bush. I'd play him over Preece. I'd play him over Suarez. Yeah. Going to be Corey LaJoy and maybe a little bit of Suarez and Preece just for, MME style for the 7K range. Next up, we have Garrett Smithley, 4,800, starting 34th. Rick Ware. I've seen this car putter out a lot. What are your thoughts?
I have him as cash because I think he's one that feels like one of the safer ones down in this area.
Really?
Yeah, you got a lot of Rick Ware cars, but isn't he like the best out of them?
I would say Joey Gase in the 15
okay
would probably be my favorite Rick Ware car tomorrow. Smithley, I can understand it. I'd rather play.
Are you gonna get Rick rolled tomorrow?
Oh, I mean, I'll have Joey Gase in probably one of the stupidly. I'll have Gase as a high dollar exposure over chalk David Starr or chalk.
I can see your lineup right now. You're going to have Joey Logano, you're going to have Austin Dillon, and then you're going to stack the cars. You're going to have Cody Ware, you're going to have Garrett Smithley, Bilicki, and Gase, and you're going to win $10,000.
No, you got to add Koster and I can't give it out all of it, but yeah, you can see where my mind is turning here.
He's gonna take the 2 expensive guys and all the Rick Ware cars, and he's gonna win all the money.
I mean, I would love that to be my Saturday night. Quinn Huff, he seems to get some random exposure in plate races.
Yeah.
Any love for the 00 Starcom?
He's gonna get ownership because everybody's gonna be trying to mix and match
People
down here.
This guy. I don't get it.
Yeah. No.
What is Quinn? I don't know. I rather Josh Bilicki. I could understand it.
Yeah, but he was super consistent last year, but not as much this year.
The 52 car sucks. He has a better Xfinity car than he does a Cup car. I swear he's always
there's
last.
A potato in the tailpipe or something.
I'm telling you, the 15 car, Cody Ware and Joey Gase. That'd be the 2 Rick Ware cars I would play tomorrow in the back.
I will change Smithley to a GPP then.
Yeah, my cash play down here would be Joey Gase in the 15, starting 37. Next up, we have Kaz Grala in the 16, Colleague Racing, 8,900. Welcome to the 3rd best play on the slate.
Yes. Super chalk here. This is the car that won the Indianapolis road race with Allmendinger driving it. It is a Cully car. This is an outstanding program. They're probably going to do really good things next year in Cup race. You might have a Cully car win the Xfinity race earlier in the day. Although he's more of a road course driver, he hasn't done horrible on plate races, but the car and the team is just outstanding, and there's so much room for him to go up.
He is a really talented driver, Kaz Grala. Doesn't have a permanent ride. When he gets his opportunity to shine like he has in other plate races, this guy does perform really well. I'm not sure if he got into some trouble during the original Daytona or the first Daytona, but I don't know that history. I just know Kaz Grala is a good driver, starting 38th, 8,900 is not super expensive either. So going to probably be 3rd man in for me.
Yep.
Next up, we have Landon Castle, 7,100, starting 39th, 96 Gaunt Brothers. This used to be Suarez's ride. I don't think this is a super bad car. Like, he's got a little bit of upside with this car. He's got some, history, some experience with racing in the Cup Series. 7,100 price tag. I mean, I'd rather play Lejoy, but if I had to play 2 in one lineup, sure, maybe I'll rotate Landon in a little bit. Your thoughts?
Here's the problem. I have him as cash play right now, but it's a borderline. The price is a little bit steep. He probably could get 4.5, maybe 5x. But the problem is this car, even in plate races, doesn't always finish on the lead lap. I think only maybe 1 or 2 times in the last 10 races or so, they've been able to finish on the lead lap. And that's saying something in Daytona,
Yeah. Even if this car does finish somewhere near 25th, though, that's value you want.
Right.
So if he's starting anywhere between 25 and 30, I'm out, like I am on like BJ Mcleod. But the fact that he's starting 39th gives me a little bit more wiggle room to play him.
It's the same thing as Norm Betting. You talked about, he didn't race races, but Norm Betting is always 5 laps down. But if there's a 15 car pileup and he's like 2 miles back behind the pack, he is going to pass those 15 cars eventually in 5 laps.
In 5, exactly. And then you'll look up at the end of the race on a green-white checker and Norm Benning sitting in 20th. You're like, no. Yeah. Norm Benning's the start and park. That's what I see. Plays like Gase and Cody Ware and Landon Castle and the next guy we'll talk about. That's what I see them being. It's making sure you don't stick yourself with someone like Quinn Huff, who is going to be out on engine failure in 40 laps. That's like what you're trying to avoid with your punts down here. Last but not least, we have David Starr, 66, starting 40th.
Popular only because he cannot lose any points.
And he raced to the Xfinity race, so he's going to know how the track's handling and all this other stuff that a lot of touts will tell you. When the reality is if David Starr doesn't wreck his automobile, he will finish with 10 plus place differential points, and that is why he'll have ownership.
He was in the Xfinity race?
Yeah. Really? David Starr's in the field for the Xfinity. I think he is.
You're right. He's in 32nd place. Oh, he's in the touring car. Wow. Yeah. That shows you how memorable he is. I put the whole book together and did the whole spreadsheet and still can't remember he was in Xfinity.
Yeah. He's going to have ownership because he's starting 40th, and he's not going to probably finish any better than 23rd. But people understand that, and they're going to play him, and so will I. I'm not excited about it, but I have to play it. It's a rule in DFS. You don't play the pole sitter on plate race DFS. You play the 40th car driver, no matter
who he doesn't run into the 38th guy and end the day.
That will haunt me forever in my dreams.
Yep.
Okay, well, that will wrap it up for the full 40 car breakdown. If you've made it this long, guys, thank you for listening. Please like this video. As if we don't appreciate it enough, we really do. We appreciate you guys. And if you want to get into the Discord chat, you can find that link on our Twitter handle at FSI DFS. And you can find the bio to that link. You can find the link in the bio. Sorry, my mind is jello at this point. Mega, anything else to add for our weekend at Daytona?
No, let's just hope for a not boring race and a safe race. If there's wrecks, that's fine, but that nobody gets seriously hurt, and that, everybody makes it to Darlington next week for a really cool weekend with the throwback paint schemes and everything.
Yeah.
A classic track. Daytona's gonna be fun to watch and everything this weekend. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm beyond that really looking forward to this Darlington race coming up too. So join us next weekend for all the coverage on that, and hopefully we'll have some green screens for everybody.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. Enjoy your evening, guys, and good luck.